Welcome to the Entitled Files, where today we meet Lori, a corporate tyrant who purchased a thriving marketing agency only to transform it into her personal fiefdom of denied time off and crushed dreams. Her iron-fisted control over her employees' personal lives went unchallenged until she forced one worker to miss what might be the final chance to see their 90-year-old grandmother. From canceled anniversary trips to missed family weddings, all while she posted beach selfies from her own getaways, this workplace power struggle escalates from quiet desperation to calculated justice. Let's dive in.
I never thought I'd be that person posting a workplace revenge story, but here we are. This is the tale of how my coworkers and I finally stood up to our nightmare of a boss, who we'll call Lori. Fair warning, this is a long one, but I promise it's worth it. I worked, at a mid-sized marketing agency that specialized in digital campaigns. When I joined 4 years ago, the company was actually a pretty great place. The original owner, Dave, was reasonable, fair, and understood the importance of work-life balance. We had competitive salaries, decent benefits, and a generous vacation policy of 3 weeks paid time off plus holidays. Nothing extraordinary, but certainly fair by industry standards. All that changed about 2 years ago when Dave decided to retire and sold the agency to Lori, who came from a corporate background and immediately made it clear that our lax culture was going to change. At first, the changes were subtle. She started scheduling mandatory team meetings at 8 a.m., which was an hour earlier than our usual start time. Then came the productivity initiatives, where we had to account for every 15-minute block of our day. But we adapted because, well, that's what you do when you need a paycheck. The real trouble started last summer when Lori announced a temporary adjustment to our vacation policy due to what she called challenging economic conditions. According to her new rules, all pre-approved vacations were now subject to business necessity review, and anyone taking more than 3 consecutive days off would need to be reachable by phone for emergency situations. My coworker Jason was the first victim. He had planned a 2-week trip to Europe with his wife for their 10th anniversary. They had been saving for years, booked non-refundable accommodations, and his vacation was approved 6 months in advance before Lori even took over. 3 days before he was set to leave, Lori called him into her office and told him he could only take 1 week because we had a potential new client who might want to meet the following week. Jason tried to explain his situation, but Lori just said, "We all make sacrifices for the company. I haven't taken a vacation in 3 years." A claim we later discovered was completely false. Devastated but not wanting to lose his job, Jason cut his trip short, lost money on changed flights, and missed half the vacation he'd been planning for years. The kicker? The potential client never even materialized. A month later, it was Emily's turn. She had scheduled time off to attend her sister's wedding in California. 2 days before her flight, Lori told her she needed to handle a client crisis that only she could manage. Emily ended up missing the ceremony and arriving just in time for the reception, in tears and still in her travel clothes. Then came the holiday season. Lori announced that due to year-end deadlines, no one could take off the week between Christmas and New Year's, traditionally a time when the office was closed under Dave's ownership. Those with special circumstances could apply for an exception, which would be considered on a case-by-case basis. Mysteriously, the only special circumstance that qualified was Lori's own 2-week Caribbean cruise. While we were all working through the holidays, she was posting Instagram photos of herself sipping margaritas on a beach. But the final straw came when my own carefully planned vacation was derailed. I'd been saving for a year to visit my grandmother in Australia, who was turning 90. I hadn't seen her in 5 years, and given her age, I knew this might be my last chance. I requested the time off 6 months in advance, and even arranged to complete all my projects ahead of schedule. 2 weeks before my trip, Lori called me into her office. "I'm sorry," she said, not sounding sorry at all, "but we need you here for the Hendricks presentation. They specifically requested you." I was crushed. "But Lori, this is really important to me. I might not get another chance to see my grandmother, and the Hendricks presentation isn't for another month. I've already done most of the prep work." "The date moved up," she said dismissively. "Sometimes we have to make personal sacrifices for professional growth. I'm sure your grandmother will understand." I left her office in tears. That night I called my grandmother to break the news. The disappointment in her voice broke my heart. The next day I was still upset when I ran into Jason by the coffee machine. He noticed my red eyes and asked what was wrong. After I explained, he said, "You know, she did this to all of us, and I just found out she's taking another vacation next month, right when we're supposed to be finalizing the Peterson campaign." That conversation sparked something. During lunch, Jason and I gathered a few other coworkers who had similar experiences with Lori. Emily was there, still bitter about missing her sister's wedding. Mark had missed his son's championship game. Sarah had to cancel a non-refundable deposit on a cabin rental. We realized this wasn't just bad management. It was a pattern of abuse, and we had documentation. Every denied vacation request, every last-minute cancellation, all alongside Lori's own abundant time off. We had emails, calendar invites, and even those Instagram posts. One of my coworkers, Tom, from IT, mentioned that he still had access to Dave's email, something Lori never bothered to change. We debated the ethics but ultimately decided to reach out to him. This wasn't just about vacations anymore. Morale was at an all-time low. 3 talented people had already quit, and clients were starting to notice the decline in quality. Dave responded within hours, clearly disturbed by what he was hearing. He asked for more details, which we provided. What we didn't know was that when Dave sold the agency to Lori, the contract included performance clauses and cultural maintenance requirements. Apparently, she had been reporting to him that everything was running smoothly and that any staff turnover was performance-related. A week later, Dave made a surprise visit to the office. He called an all-staff meeting with Lori looking confused at his presence. He explained that he had been keeping tabs on the agency and was concerned about what he was hearing. Lori tried to interject with excuses, but Dave calmly asked her to step outside for a private conversation. They were gone for almost an hour. When they returned, Lori looked like she'd seen a ghost. Dave announced that he would be temporarily stepping back in as a consultant to help the agency realign with its core values. Within a month, Lori was gone. Dave later explained that he had found an escape clause in their contract based on her violation of the company culture requirements. He brought in a new manager, Alex, who had worked with him years ago and shared his people-first philosophy. The first thing Alex did was reinstate our original vacation policy. He personally reached out to everyone who had been forced to cancel plans and offered them additional paid time off as compensation. I finally got to visit my grandmother 3 months later than planned. The company not only honored my original time off, but added 3 extra days and contributed $500 toward the changed flight fees. My grandmother was overjoyed to see me, and I was able to be there for her actual birthday. The agency is back on track now. We've even implemented a new vacation protection policy that requires exceptional circumstances and unanimous management approval to alter any pre-approved time off. Looking back, I realize we should have stood up to Lori sooner, but we were all afraid of losing our jobs in an uncertain economy. What I learned is that sometimes you have to take a stand, especially when someone is taking advantage of an entire team's goodwill and work ethic. So if you're in a similar situation with an entitled boss who thinks your personal time belongs to them while they enjoy their own, document everything and find strength in numbers. You might be surprised to discover you have more power than you think. And yes, I still check Lori's Instagram occasionally. She's no longer posting vacation photos. Apparently, she's consulting now. I wish her clients the best of luck.
And there you have it. Lori's vacation tyranny finally met its match. If you've enjoyed this story of workplace justice, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Entitled Files for more tales of entitlement getting exactly what it deserves. See you in the next one.